Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. In this segment of the video, we'll be refuting a Trump apologist called Rob Pearson, who supports Donald Trump in his ban against Muslims entering the United States. As you know, the United States, with Donald Trump, has banned countries like Libya, Sudan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, and Yemen from entering its countries, and they're basically given a ban. Yet Rob Pearson sees this as not an attack against Muslims or Islam, but an attack on those who may commit harm to that country. And they say that this legitimacy is acceptable because those countries are part of war-torn countries, and that's where there are high conflicts. And Rob Pearson posts a picture here and he says it's a ban on all immigrants, which means it's not really targeting only Muslims. There are Christians in there as well. However, as you know, that this is not entirely true. Christians are given an exception if they happen to live in those Muslim countries. And one of those exceptions are if they can prove that they are running away from oppression and so forth. And that's not really difficult to prove. That's very easy, especially when you come from those countries where you've already put a ban on. So it actually favors the Christian minorities entering the States. So basically, when that argument didn't work, Rob Pearson says, well, he's still putting a ban on countries where there are conflicts and so forth. However, this is again inconsistent and so forth, because when we look at countries like Pakistan or Afghanistan, these countries also have conflicts, regular suicide bombings, and so forth, yet there is no ban on these particular countries. In fact, to make things even worse, Saudi Arabia is not on the ban list, and by God, most Trump supporters will tell you that ISIS is actually supported and funded by Saudi Arabia. What makes it even worse is that 15 of the 19 hijackers that apparently hit the Pentagon and September 11, the Twin Towers, and so forth, they were Saudi nationals. So yes, apparently Saudi Arabia didn't make it on the list. Isn't that a little bit sus that Donald Trump basically goes after the weakest link? He goes after countries where he doesn't really have much an authority in the sense of business dealings, or whether there is no strategic point to fight against ISIS and so forth. So basically, it's a smokescreen. He doesn't really care about the safety and security of the American people. It's more about business dealings and about national interest, not really about the safety and security of the people. In other words, the guy is a sellout, only really cares about money-driven economy and not about safety of the American people. As you know, Trump is doing business deals with even countries like Indonesia, the PM over there, and Pakistan. He uses it as a strategic point to fight ISIS and the Taliban. Thus, he doesn't want to anger those bigger Muslim countries and so forth, but he goes for the most vulnerable and so forth. As you know, here Rob Pearson makes the excuse in the comments here. He says, because right now, 15 years later, Saudi Arabia does not have refugees fleeing war. What you seem to keep avoiding is that now in 2017, not in 2001, every country on that ban list is engaged in arming conflict. He's actually proven wrong here. Not there are many other Muslim countries who are also in conflict. As I said, there are regular suicide bombings happening in Pakistan and Afghanistan, yet they're not part of the ban list. His claim is that, it's been 15 years when, Saudi Arabia did a conflict against America and so forth. But my question is, when was the last time Iran hit the US? How long ago was that? Yet there's a ban on Iran, and Iran never, not in the last 15 years, ever tried to hurt America and hit them. Yet a ban is put on them. So notice the inconsistencies. Let's even sum up. Indonesia is not on the ban list, even though there are active terror cells there, but Trump has business dealings there, so he turns a blind eye. Pakistan is not on the list, yet it's a conflict zone with active Taliban fighters, suicide bombings every few weeks, but Trump turns a blind eye. Again, because it has deals with the government of Pakistan, US bases to strike Al-Qaeda. Afghanistan, not on the ban list, surprisingly, yet it's an active war zone. Again, it has US interests to fight Al-Qaeda, hence another blind eye. No ban on Turkey, yet Turkey has multiple suicide bombings on a regular basis. There is also a warning to travelers to Turkey as a no-go zone, yet there is no ban on Turkey, even though one of their citizens shot and killed a Russian foreign minister or a diplomat. Another blind eye there because Trump needs to keep good relations as it's another country it uses to fight ISIS. No ban on Saudi. They have a history to attack US and a key founder of ISIS and a funder of ISIS. But of course, Trump doesn't wish to put a ban on the most wealthy, again due to business dealings. But of course, he would go after Libya. Like, seriously, what business dealings do you have there? What business dealings do you have in Sudan? What business dealings do you have in Iran, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, and Yemen? I mean, there you have it. So he basically has no business dealings there. He has control over them, basically. So basically, he doesn't put any embargo on them. It's clear he goes the weakest link, and the Trump supporters know it. I asked him the question, I said to Rob Pearson, now can you answer my question? Do you believe as a Trump supporter, Saudi actually funds groups like ISIS? And he writes back and he says, as you can see in the comments, he says, they probably do because they backed Hillary and Hillary funded ISIS. He reckons Hillary funded ISIS. So I said, so why do you not condemn Trump, yet he closes his eyes on Saudi like Hillary? And then he goes on to say, close his eyes, what? And he's just clearly in denial, right? Yet he admits that, yes, that the Saudi Arabians do fund them. But amazing, as a Trump supporter, he closes his eyes and can't see how Trump is actually a phony. And Trump is only bending his back to the Saudi government only because it probably pays his own Congress. That's basically why. And if he puts bans on Saudi, then his Congress is not going to get paid all that money due to their business dealings with Saudi Arabia. So yes, Trump doesn't care about the American people. In reference to safety and security. It's interesting because Rob Pearson says, I don't know where this Trump-Saudi alliance came from since Saudis backed Hillary to win. Well, you know what? If they really did back Hillary to win, that would have been a better excuse for him to actually put a ban on them. But he didn't, because he's a sellout like Hillary. He's a sellout for money they'll sell themselves out. Trump also said once that he's going to put Hillary in prison. Didn't he? He said he's going to put her in court. He got into office and he didn't even put her in prison. He just let it go. He just turned the other cheek. So he's just a sellout like Hillary. It's interesting because Rob Pearson said in the comments earlier, he spoke about how, in reference to, that they are still people, that it's just a minority that compared to the Muslims who are in a majority, where Trump is actually allowing of Christians to come in. That's just basically a minority. And of course, Rob Pearson, in response, said that most of the people that are fleeing Afghanistan, they're fleeing actually to Europe as a majority, and they're not coming as a minority. They're only coming as a minority into America. So notice he actually appeals to the minority when it favors him to say, oh, Trump still allows a minority, but then he appeals to majority when he wants to talk about how most of the Afghanis are going to Europe and not America. So he's trying to say that's why it wasn't important for Trump to ban the Afghanis. So notice the double standards. He actually appeals to majority when it suits him, and he appeals to minority when it suits him. As you can see him in the comment, majority of Afghanis refugees are fleeing to Europe and find it hard to seek Pakistan in heavy conflict. So there you have it. And this silly man, he says, Syria has terror cells everywhere and terrorists everywhere, and that's why he's putting a ban. Well, he's also not putting a ban on and Pakistan, but there's terrorists running everywhere there too, right? So again, he's got national interests in Pakistan and obviously Afghanistan, and that's why he doesn't do that. So again, it's not about the safety and security of the American people. It's about what benefits Donald Trump at the end of the day in his fight against ISIS, and again, his fight to get as much dollars in his pocket. That's basically it.